Oh, man, where'd you get that?
My sister gave it to me.
Yo, what is that, man?
What does it look like?
It's like cool.
Yeah, it smells like Coke too.
All right, man. Hey, well, let's party, man. Give me some.
What? Whoa. What the fuck?
1992, a German forensic team makes an extraordinary discovery. Inside several 3,000-year-old Egyptian mummies, they find what appears to be evidence of a hardcore narcotic not present in Egypt until the late 19th century. Outrageous hoax? Or is the impossible true? The ancient Egyptians are a constant source of fascination. An extraordinary civilization that gave us the pyramids, Sphinx, and the dark mysteries of the mummies. But new research has unearthed shocking evidence that may present them in a different light and leads us to ask, what was really going on in the Valley of the Kings?
It would open a big can of worms for the scientific community.
Recent advances in forensic science have enabled us to dig deeper into our past than ever before. But what could it tell us about the lives of people who lived 3,000 years ago? Could forensics unlock the secrets of the ancient Egyptians? Searching for clues, the German forensic team began the chemical analysis of fragile and priceless ancient mummies. They're amazed by what they find. Inside hair and tissue samples, they discover evidence of cocaine. The mystery begins with the coca plant from which cocaine derives, found only in South America. The plant is not native to Africa, so how did South American cocaine get into Egyptian mummies? Bernard Ortiz de Montellano is a medical anthropologist. Like many in the academic community, he questioned the findings.
I was very skeptical and knew I would have to look at the original literature and do some research myself.
Anthropologist Charlene Klingman is also baffled.
The idea of it appearing in ancient Egyptian mummies is surprising.
Examining the Egyptian and South American cultures might help solve this bizarre mystery. So, could there be a connection? Both civilizations built pyramids and both mummified their dead. The Egyptians used salts and resins, while the natives of Peru allowed their mummies to dry naturally. But were the Peruvians using cocaine 3,000 years ago? Larry Cartmel is a forensic pathologist. He has tested several mummies from Peru.
The first few we tested were all negative, but then out of the 8 samples, number 5 we tested was positive. We had no idea that cocaine metabolite would last 1,000 years, and later on we found it actually our oldest one we've had is 3,000 years old. Cocaine is a very good local anesthetic and it's a good pain reliever, so they could have used it for medicinal purposes as well. And then we found that about half the population tested positive for coca leaf use. So it was probably used more frequently than a lot of anthropologists had speculated up until that time.
Evidence of cocaine in Peruvian and Egyptian mummies poses an intriguing question. Did the cultures actually interact? Could the Egyptians have traveled to South America?
If someone could prove the theory of transatlantic travel and back it up with a significant amount of evidence, it would open a big can of worms for the scientific community.
Could the Egyptians have made the perilous Atlantic crossing before Columbus? First, they would have had to endure the perils of an Atlantic crossing, and they would need to sail around the tip of the Americas. This is an area known as Cape Horn, home to some of the world's most treacherous waters. The ancient Egyptians built many of their boats out of papyrus, a reed-like plant. Due to the boat's small size, primitive sails, and rigging, it is highly unlikely a vessel like this could survive a voyage to South America and back.
It just doesn't seem possible. It would be an amazing, amazing feat. And looking at what the ancient Egyptians have left behind, they wrote down all of their conquests, the heroic activities that they embarked upon, and there is little to no evidence of that. There's evidence of maritime technology, but there's nothing that shows that they came and saw and conquered.
No artifacts from South America have ever been found in ancient Egyptian sites.
One would think that if they made contact with the South Americans, things like corn or other cultural commodities would have returned with them, and that's just not appearing in the archaeological record.
So you have no record in the New World, you have no record in the Old World. There is no record in Egypt of a trip that mentions cocaine or going to the New World or going in a reed boat anywhere.
There just hasn't been anything to support the theory that these ancient individuals were making contact, were actually making successful journeys across the Atlantic.
You have to be doing 200-300 round trips a year to get that much coca leaf into the Egyptian population. So right there, you have an enormous number of assumptions.
The mystery deepens. If there was no way for cocaine to have crossed the ocean, why was it found in Egyptian mummies?
Could have been a lab contamination, it could have been a transfer contamination. Any number of the mummies that you would see in a museum today have traveled beyond getting buried in their tombs. There's plenty of opportunities for contamination to occur. If it was housed in, for say, a crate that might have been used to hold something else at one point in time, there's opportunities for trace contamination there.
The 19th century was a golden age in archaeological exploration. The rediscovery of lost and ancient civilizations captured the public's imagination.
The idea of ancient Egypt was a sensation. It was as popular as our blockbuster films today. People had an interest in it. They were reading about it. They were studying it. They had a vested interest in this culture. They wanted a part of it. They wanted it as close to them as in their own homes.
For the European elite, owning an Egyptian mummy was a must-have status symbol.
And a lot of the ancient Egyptian collections that are out there have been housed in people's homes throughout the years. Coffins, mummies, funerary objects. A lot of it comes from private collections.
In those days, rich people and nobles and kings had collections of all kinds of things. They would collect strange animals and shells and minerals and, weird things. And among one of the things they'd like to collect was Egyptian mummies. And they'd have these collections of their own private little museums, which they would use on social occasions to take people and show them their collection.
The archaeological methods of the time were very unsophisticated, often allowing modern debris to become trapped next to the mummified remains. By the late part of the 1800s, cocaine was introduced into Europe and commonly used as a medicine. Is it possible these mummies somehow became contaminated during this time?
It's a conceivable situation.
Conceivable but improbable. The evidence of cocaine found by the forensic team had been ingested into the body through eating or inhalation. These traces then became incorporated into body tissue and hair while alive. Brief contact couldn't produce the same result, plus the team had carefully washed their samples to remove any contaminants. So the mystery lives on. How did these drugs end up inside these ancient bodies? Well, perhaps these mummies weren't from ancient Egypt at all.
During the time period when ancient Egyptian mummies were being sold as a commodity, there is an opportunity for scam artists to get on board and create fake mummies in order to turn a profit. So fake mummies were being produced and sold abroad to individuals seeking something glamorous and interesting. What they got might have been something different than what they paid for.
And so there's enormous demand for mummies. And as I said, in Egypt, there weren't that many mummies available. And so what you would do is the enterprising people would go out there and get linen, and they wrap up some cadaver. So a fake mummy is one that has been made in the 19th century and then sold as an authentic mummy. And the argument that some people would make is these fake mummies, in fact, were contaminated.
But the mummies examined by the researchers aren't fake. They've been certified genuine by the museum where they reside. So, for now, it seems unlikely we will ever know the truth of the cocaine mummies. The researchers have never let anyone else test their samples, and evidence of cocaine in other Egyptian mummies has yet to be found.
At the end of the day, the scientific community is left with a lot of open-ended questions. There's a lot of things that have yet to be answered. For now, this is all we've got.
What the fuck?
Hey man, look.
Oh, man, where'd you get that?
My sister gave it to me.
Yo, what is that, man?
What does it look like?
It's like coal.
Yeah, it smells like coke too.
All right, man. Hey, well, let's party, man. Give me some.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
In 1992, a German forensic team makes an extraordinary discovery. Inside several 3,000-year-old Egyptian mummies, they find what appears to be evidence of a hardcore narcotic not present in Egypt until the late 19th century. Outrageous hoax? Or is the impossible true? The ancient Egyptians are a constant source of fascination. An extraordinary civilization that gave us the pyramids, Sphinx, and the dark mysteries of the mummies. But new research has